First, I thought Patrick's political ideology was communism, right?
No, not right, actually. Maybe if you actually listened to what people who are communists say, you would probably have fewer people who are like Patrick, because then working conditions would be better and people would want to have jobs. And Patrick believes that ideologically. Show me one episode where Patrick ideologically believes that like everyone should own everything.
For one, he loves to raid SpongeBob's fridge just whenever he wants, and even the
Yes, communism is when you eat food out of your friend's fridge. Yes.
I don't know about you, but there's something telling me Gary is an anarchist.
I'm skipping. I'm sorry. Like, no, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I'm not sitting here and debunking why Gary is not an anarchist. I'm sorry. Like, even I have limits. Should I start by talking about SpongeTruths, or should I also, I'll start with this. So I have been planning to talk about this Scribble video. It's already 2 months old. Wow. But I saw when this Scribble video came out. Scribble is the other No Villains Are Safe. They're just No Villains Are Safe. They're the same company. That's why the thumbnails look like exactly the same. And Scribble posted 2 months ago, wow, this government through SpongeBob characters, and I've been meaning to cover it for a while. I just had other videos that took my attention before it. And another reason I didn't really cover it just yet is I have kind of a complicated relationship with covering politics or political things, because I'm not explicitly a political channel. I'm a movies and TV show channel. And that's what I like to talk about. But, one of the things that I do talk about in the arts is how the arts are important for shaping perspectives and how the arts are political. I'm one of those people who thinks all art is political. And I have kind of a specific argument for that, where it's like to put something out there that is art, to choose to focus on something, is to have an opinion on it, and to have an opinion on anything is political. That's kind of the short version. Maybe one day I'll do a full video about how all art is political. Why is Plankton Hitler? We'll get to that. If you could replace capitalism, what would be your ideal replacement? Getting right into it, are we? My position on capitalism is to slowly dismantle capitalism through socialist programs such as, universal healthcare, decommodification of housing, and even as you go even farther, stuff like decommodification of food. But I am someone who understands that the processes in which one can achieve that are, I think, best achieved slowly through a long period of properly implementing these things in a small scale and seeing how they work before being implemented into a large scale. Democratic socialism, yeah, basically like Mamdani and Bernie Sanders, like those people. Like, if you want to see like what is like most aligned, like that's like basically that. Like the most reasonable sounding people in politics today, that's for sure. Evolutionary as opposed to revolutionary. Yeah, I like that. I think that's nice, and it's hard to still hold that position. Like, that position does get challenged as you just see how horrible the other side is, and you see how horrible even people on your side are. But I think it does take a lot of strength to look at that in the face and say to yourself, no, it's still better to be smart about things, to not have rash. AOC shout? Sure, I'll shout AOC. So I've been wanting to talk about this video for a while, and I have a strange relationship with politics because I don't bring up politics all that much on the channel, to the point where if you watched like a certain amount of my videos, you might not fully know my politics just from that. And I know this because whenever I do a video that does have some of my like political beliefs in it, like this one, I just did a video on the Animal Farm movie, and that had a lot of my politics in it. And I do always get like commenters that kind of like seem surprised almost, like that. or just even the fact that like YouTube, because I'm not explicitly like a political channel, like if every video I did was like just about like politics or news or whatever, which I wouldn't want to do, it wouldn't make me happy. Like I make the videos that I make because this is what makes me happy in my life. I am someone who is passionate about the arts specifically, and any knowledge or passion that I have for politics is secondary to my passion for the arts. But those things are also connected because the arts are political. So a little while ago, SpongeTruths posted, it's actually this video, the SpongeBob episodes they tried to ban. Now this is not the original thumbnail for this video. This is the original thumbnail for this video. Do we see the difference between the original thumbnail for that video and this one? I covered this video the day it came out. I was streaming that day because I was covering the WatchMojo drama because I was trying to like get on that. It was like a news story. You could go back and find it on the channel and all that. And I saw that SpongeTruth posted this video, and I was like, I need to talk about this. Still not over the homophobic SpongeTruth segment. It was so shocking. Oh, you want more shocking? Read the comments. Most vile comments I've ever gotten on any video that discussed anything political was on my response to the SpongeTruth's homophobia video. And it's so funny because there were responses from some people who were just like vile, who were very specific, like literally saying like, SpongeTruth is awesome for saying this stuff. Like I unironically got comments like that. You can go check. I had to delete a few because some were like so hateful that I'm like, I just cannot have this like under my video. Like I just can't. Like that's just irresponsible. But I think what stood out to me more than the people who were outright vile in the comments was the people who were saying like, who were like more moderate, trying to be like, well, someone who just doesn't like to see the existence of queer people is not necessarily like the people who are like trying to like kind of play ball with it. Whereas I have a very zero tolerance policy for intolerance, the paradox of intolerance, as we've all heard of. In order to be tolerant, you have to be intolerant of intolerance. That's the only way one can be truly tolerant, or the most tolerant a person possibly can be. You can't be tolerant of literally everyone, because then you're not being tolerant of certain people by being tolerant of the intolerant people. So by being intolerant of intolerance, I am the maximum amount of tolerant that a person can be. Anyway, I don't really want to get into too much about this video. I did just kind of want to point that out. Oh, I also did want to point out, I guess I can give a little addendum here. I made a mistake in my video where I talked about this video, in the homophobia video. I did confuse asexual and aromantic, because there was a part in this video where SpongeTruth talked about how SpongeBob was asexual. And he was actually quoting Stephen Hillenburg, where Stephen Hillenburg said that SpongeBob was asexual, which is actually true. And I said something along the lines of like, wasn't there a line in Club SpongeBob where SpongeBob says, "Am I ever going to get married?" And I said that as a like does that contradict that he's asexual? And obviously, or maybe not obviously, maybe you don't know, and it's okay if you don't know, because I mixed it up too. As long as you decide to learn from what I'm about to point out the difference of. What I meant was aromantic, a person who is, and also, so a person who wouldn't want to get married is aromantic. A person who is asexual, or maybe not even in general, obviously it's a broad world, it's a broad term, so maybe not even necessarily that. But in general, if I were to say that someone who wants to get married would be not asexual because they want to get married, that's actually not true. The term that I was thinking of that I didn't say was aromantic. However, the way that Stephen Hillenburg would have said it, and not even to like quote Stephen, like it was like 2004, like I'm sure the terms existed then, but it's like it's not finalized like it is today. Back when that interview was conducted, the distinction of asexual, aromantic was not really as much of a thing. So the way that it was being described in that time period of saying SpongeBob is asexual actually would have meant SpongeBob is aromantic, because SpongeBob is aromantic, actually. If you look at the show, he doesn't have romantic feelings for people. And that is what actually makes that line in Club SpongeBob odd, that he says, will I ever get married? Because in just about every other situation, SpongeBob is aromantic, except Tea at the Tree Dome. But again, that's just like they didn't finalize the character yet. And I think that same could be said for Club SpongeBob. That it's just kind of a throwaway line. It didn't finalize this idea of SpongeBob being aromantic. So anyway, I just wanted to issue that correction in video form. I did reply to the commenters who pointed it out. Every single person who pointed it out in the comments was nice, by the way. You know, people always complain about, oh, like, left-leaning people are always so mean if you forget their pronouns or whatever. And I think that that's such a self-report, like people who think that, like, they're probably actually rude, and that's why people get mad at them. Whereas, like, you get someone like me who's clearly woke in so many ways, and I make a mistake between the distinction of aromantic and asexual, and everyone who comments, like, knows that, like, I don't have any negative thoughts about that I just like made. They were like, hey, I made a mistake, so I was like super nice about it. So like, you know, that just made me think of that, how like people think that people are so mean when you mess stuff like that up, and it's like, well, no, people are mean when you consistently mess stuff like that up, when you're willingly ignorant, and you deserve them being mean to you in that case. So SpongeTruths changed the thumbnail of this to this with like the war thing, which is weird. I don't really know why they did it. SpongeBob falling head over heels over a beautiful Krabby Patty. Oh yeah, I don't want to think about that episode. I declare that episode non-canon because it helps me move away from the argument. Okay. They either changed the thumbnail because maybe they were just doing a thumbnail test, because you can do that on YouTube. You can test the thumbnail where it will show like 3 different ones. Like I just did it with my SpongeBob period pieces video, where I actually did it with I did it with 3 thumbnails at first, and then I did it between 2, and it said like this thumbnail got 51% of watch time and the other one was like 48%. So I went with this one. Like that's like, you can do a thumbnail test where it will show multiple thumbnails. So maybe it just showed, maybe this one was just the one that won and it was doing a test. You can also do it with the titles, because the titles are slightly different too. Or maybe they did kind of see that this thumbnail was inciting backlash. I don't know. Or maybe like they put it up at first, like, because I read the comments on this video. There's not that many comments on the video. None of them are really remarkable, and I didn't really see one. But maybe there was a comment that complained about the thumbnail. They changed the thumbnail, then they deleted the comment and out of evidence that people were mad about the thumbnail. So like that's a possibility. So this video isn't even about war. The video wasn't only about like gay people in SpongeBob, like it wasn't. It also did talk about actually anti-capitalism. Funnily enough, it talked about how like Squid on strike and all that. It wasn't about war, so I don't know why a war thumbnail ended up being the one. I think it was just like they scrambled to change the thumbnail because they realized that there was something wrong with this one. That's what I think happened. Propaganda is synonymous with war due to its excessive use in World War II. Yeah, I get that. I get why, like, propaganda just being in general next to like a war image. I could see that, but it is very weird with the video. I think what's weird about this new video, this hidden message, you've completely missed SpongeBob's political genius with the communism hammer and sickle. I think what's weird about this video is that this is clearly like this title and thumbnail, just from the title and thumbnail alone, and don't worry, we'll watch it. From the title and thumbnail alone, we're seeing this is a left leaning, not just like a regular left leaning message, like a progressive message. Like this is a left message. This is like, you've completely missed SpongeBob's political genius. In fact, this actually is, I don't want to say too left even for me, because I don't like the implication that like the far left is communism and like Stalin, and like, you know, the far right is like, you know, fascism. Like I mean the far right is fascism, like that's correct. But like when people are like, ooh, like the far left is like communism style, like there was nothing leftist about Stalin. If anything, Stalin was as conservative as any other fascist. You know what I mean? Like I don't get this conflation that like what leftist policy did Stalin do? Are you kidding me? Like what a joke. So it's funny because as a leftist, I disagree with this as SpongeBob's political genius and then putting the hammer and sickle, because I actually think that in doing that you are associating modern leftism and modern socialism with the hammer and sickle in the Soviet Union, which we don't want to do because the Soviet Union was bad and they did bad things and they didn't succeed at what they were trying, or what they allegedly were trying to do at the beginning with, like, you know, the revolutionaries and all that stuff, like, or, you know, the whatever, like it just didn't do what it was supposed to do. So I think putting a hammer and sickle and saying it's SpongeBob's political genius, it's kind of a tanky thing. If anyone doesn't know what that is, a tanky is a person who is like really in favor of like Stalin and Mao and like North Korea and stuff like that, which is like, which they're idiots. Like, like it's not, we gotta, you know, you're very unhelpful to the actual, there are people, you know what I was saying earlier about how like it's hard in a world that is so radical to yourself not succumb to radicalism, that you have to look in the face of all of these awful things that the people in power are doing, and you have to say, no, there is a more reasonable solution. Tankies are leftists who don't do that, who just are like, oh yeah, let's like just like do like the like revolution or whatever, all that stuff. Like I'm just not into that. I also think it's just very cringe. I think it's very cringe. I think it's very LARPy. I think you just need to like live in the real world and be like, look, like, you know, there are actual problems and there are actual solutions to those problems, and we should actually think about what they are and not LARP as like Soviet Union whatever. So I actually take issue with this thumbnail as a leftist, because I think that we need to just let go as leftists of the Soviet Union iconography. In its original conception, the image of the hammer and sickle does kind of go hard, of like the idea, because those were the main tools of the working class of that time. That's what the hammer and sickle means. But guys, like, Stalin ruined it. I'm sorry. The whole thing is associated with Stalin. We have to let it go. You need a different symbol. You can't use that symbol. It's done. Did Jackson notice that they changed the title from capitalism? Oh, they changed. They did change this thumbnail. Wait, thank you for pointing that out. Did I screenshot it yesterday? Yeah. Right. Oh, look. See, we can kind of see it. It's below me. It's below the chat. But yeah, look, this was 8 minutes after it was posted in my live stream yesterday. It said anti-capitalism before. Wow. Thank you for pointing that out, chatter. Appreciate it. They changed this thumbnail because it was too right-wing, and they changed this thumbnail because it was too left-wing. Because there's nothing wrong with saying anti-capitalism. I think that that's actually pretty cowardly. Like, I would say I'm an anti-capitalist. That's fine. You can be an anti-capitalist and not be like, we need to overthrow the entire system as it stands. Like, there is such a thing as nuance. Yeah, he changed it to hidden message. Weird. So let's talk about the most weird thing about this. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. This video was homophobic. You know, it wasn't like, okay, so like when I say it's homophobic, it'd be easier because it's a lot to explain. I'm not going to go, I did a whole stream about it. That is another video. So like in the smallest, in the quickest of words, what happened in this video is SpongeTruths presented the idea that certain SpongeBob episodes have gay themes. Like, for example, Rockabye Bivalve shows two men raising a baby. SpongeTruth mentioned that people feel that way about Rockabye Bivalve. And then SpongeTruth said that people got mad about that in Rockabye Bivalve. And then SpongeTruth did not refute that claim. Like, they didn't say that the people who were mad about it having gay themes are homophobic, which they are. If you look at a kid's show or any show and you say they have a gay character or they're pro-gay or this or that, and you say, and you are against that, you're like, oh, that shouldn't be in kids media, or that shouldn't be in media, on the grounds of there shouldn't be gay people in kids media. That is homophobic definitionally. And to talk about that opinion and not call it out as homophobic is homophobic as well. So what's weird is that this video leaned conservative, whereas this is very blatantly left-leaning. So I think we just need to get into it. We're going to watch this video. Then we're also going to watch Scribble's video on it. Funnily enough, we use that same shot of Mr. Krabs. Basically, as we go into this, let's discuss how these AI content farm channels, these shallow videos that just take like, ooh, this is political, and they don't actually have a political understanding. Let's examine them through my knowledge, where I am a person where I am a politically educated person, a person who understands these things, and I'll be able to decode how these videos make people dumber if they watch them.
SpongeBob is a surprisingly decent crash course on political ideologies, because
it's really strong language. Like immediately. Like I would say the term political ideology too, but like it's so odd. Like this was like in the other one, it said like woke propaganda. Like SpongeTruths just has not talked like this. Like, I think this is like new. I don't know why they're trying to be more political. It's not great for your views to be political. Me being political has actually not helped me as a creator, at least as far as I've seen on this channel. I think it has on the podcast channel. Like the SpongeTruths is Homophobic is actually one of the most popular stream highlight videos currently. So I think as a live streamer, being political has helped me. It has not helped me as a video essayist. Not at all. Like if I had kept my mouth shut about all politics, if I just like look at my Animal Farm video, like 50, look, but the one that I posted 2 days ago already has as many views as the Animal Farm movie. Like this one's going to pass this one. But like, if you look at my average view counts, you know, I'm getting them in the 50K range, over 100K, almost 100K views. Like I'm getting really strong view counts. I do a political video on the Animal Farm movie. It doesn't perform as well. You know, my Sneakers O'Toole video was a little political, but it was like at the end, like I threw it in. Whereas the Animal Farm movie, you know this is a political video as soon as you look at it. Was this SpongeBob episode about religion? This one underperformed compared to like pretty much all the other videos around it. This was a very political video. I talked about religion and, you know, like all that sort of stuff. Like so like in general, like I even faced this as a content creator where I was like, when I was doing these video essays and I came across these subjects where, okay, like my politics could intersect with my job as a video essayist. Should I do that? And I chose to do it. I wouldn't say that it was like, oh, it's just a bad business decision, but I did it because it was what was right, you know? It's a little bit that, but you know, I'm not going to really toot my horn too much. Like there is a good business reason for why I do let my politics known in my videos. And it's because when you do take a stand, like it is better than like when someone we've all seen creators like that where they're like, you don't know, like a creator that you watch where it's like, you don't know in American terms who they voted for in 2024. Like there are creators that I'm thinking of right now where it's like, I genuinely don't know who they voted for in 2024. You know who I voted for in 2024. Like it's so obvious. And 2020 and 2016. Actually, all three of those elections I voted for a different person, but I was voting against the same person. You know, but like we know those creators where it's someone where we don't really know, and we're always kind of like, I don't know. But like when you see me and I'll be like, and I, you know, and I do a whole stream where I'm like, yeah, like gay rights, trans rights, you know, and I like, you know, if you're someone who cares about that kind of stuff, you never have to worry about watching me and all of a sudden you're going to get smacked in the face with some hate. In general, like if you're a hollow creator like SpongeTruths, I don't really understand the business reason of suddenly being political. Like you're not going to get as many views. His homophobic video I talked about is one of his least viewed videos in recent memory. My reaction to his video has more views than the actual video. It's the first time that's happened where my reaction to a SpongeTruths video has more views than the actual SpongeTruths video, the original video. More people have seen me rip on that video than have actually seen the video itself. Ratioed SpongeTruths, yeah. I think it's just a poor decision on their part. I think they see politics and they see that political channels can get a lot of views. They see that politics is talked about a lot, especially in this time. And they probably think, oh, that's going to get me some more viewers. And they're kind of grasping at straws with it. Like, that's why I think that this is a left-leaning video and the other one was a right-leaning video, because SpongeTruth doesn't have any real beliefs. They're just trying to find what's going to get them more views. And they're running out of ideas. They're running out of steam. They're losing viewership. They really are. I'm going to do I think I want to do a dedicated stream to just how SpongeTruths is running out of energy. Their view counts have really been dropping lately, and they just had an uptick, but then they've just been on a downturn recently.
Almost every major character in the show resembles a real-world type of government or some kind of economic system.
Wait, hold up. Are they just stealing Scribble's video? Are these videos more related than I thought? They just said every character represents a form of government, which no, they don't, by the way. They don't. It's like saying the SpongeBob characters are the 7 deadly sins. It's just stupid. You can take the reason that happens, the reason that SpongeBob characters can represent the 7 deadly sins, the reason that they can represent political ideologies is because the SpongeBob characters are tried and true archetypes. This is why media literacy is important. They're archetypes. Research Commedia dell'arte, all right? If you look at Commedia dell'arte, there are different sorts of character archetypes. It's one of the most basic foundational studies of how character archetypes are formed. I studied this in college as a theater major. Basically, these characters like SpongeBob, Squidward, Patrick, Mr. Krabs, you could take all of these characters and you can look at a Commedia character from 500 years ago and go, oh, I want to say Pantalones, the name of the archetype, is Mr. Krabs. I believe that's the greedy archetype. That's like the one that I remember from my studies. Yeah, with his exceptional greed and status at the top of the social order, Pantalone is money. Pantalone, this is a old Commedia dell'arte archetype. It's Mr. Krabs, guys. This is Mr. Krabs. Because every show follows archetypes. And that's what good writing is. A good writer understands this. Understands that their characters are archetypes. There's only so many. Art is only reflecting real-world social norms. So there are a limited amount of archetypes. But when you're media illiterate, you'll be like, they represent these different political. No, it's just that Pantalone is the Pantalone archetype, which is Mr. Krabs, is it is what comments on greed, and generally greedy people in the modern day would be capitalistic, would be people who support capitalism, and then you get it from that. But to say the SpongeBob characters explicitly represent political ideologies is just a joke. They explicitly represent archetypes, not even specifically Commedia dell'arte archetype. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the SpongeBob writers were like, oh yes, Mr. Krabs is based off of Pantalone. Maybe. I don't, maybe they were nerds like me. They were definitely some kind of nerds. That's why they're good writers. But that archetype is just so ingrained in writing. It's so ingrained in our culture that any good writer is going to align with archetypes. I don't hate the whole here's what ideology each character would have video. I am not against that. I'm glad you pointed that out, because I would like to point out that I am not against the concept of doing a video like this. I am against the concept of content farms. Well, I'm against the concept of content farms in general, but I want to discuss why when a content farm does this kind of video, it's a problem. And we'll discuss that when we get into this video, and maybe a little bit as we discuss the SpongeTruths video. I mean, I probably wouldn't make a video that's government through SpongeBob characters. I don't think it's a perfect video concept, to be honest, but I wouldn't say that it's invalid, that it's like if you, the chatter who said that, is someone who is also a creator and you're thinking of making a video like that, more power to you. And I hope that what you see me talk about in this stream would help you write that video.
And the most obvious place to start is none other than the biggest penny-pinching crustacean on the 7 Cs. If you had to pick one character to stand in for capitalism in your wacky essay,
What a cold take. Like, it's just so dull. You know, oh, Mr. Krabs is like capitalism. Okay.
it's him. I mean, there's no real contest here in Bikini Bottom.
But like, is he though? Like capitalism? Like he's just greedy. He just likes money. Like that's not really like ideologically capitalist. I guess let's see if he actually has examples of, here's what would stop this from being super media illiterate, is let's see if there are examples where Mr. Krabs is ideologically capitalist. Because if you go, Mr. Krabs is capitalist, haha, he sold SpongeBob's soul for 62 cents, he's greedy, that's not correct. That's not Mr. Krabs being capitalist. Mr. Krabs is capital. I can't even really think of an example off the top of my head. I'm sure there is one, but like even if you go like, let's say an even deeper example, let's say Skill Crane. In Skill Crane, Mr. Krabs buys the claw machine and gets a bunch of money from Squidward, who gets addicted to the claw machine. That is a capitalism thing. That is a critique of capitalism, how capitalism can take advantage of people with gambling addictions, and how someone like Mr. Krabs can make a ton of money off of something as stupid as a claw machine, and how that might be a problem with the system of it. These are things that are brought up in that episode. But is Mr. Krabs himself ideologically capitalist? Like, I think the only example I can think of off the top of my head is like Money Talks. You know what? This is actually a good example. Let's see if this is the example that's brought up. Here's my example off the top of my head. If I were writing a video about it, I'd probably have a better one. At the beginning of the episode, Money Talks, there are 2 old people who are eating their food, and they're slow because they're old. And there's a guy who wants their table at the Krusty Krab. And he says to SpongeBob, I'm going to give you an extra $5 if I can have their table now. And SpongeBob says, no, I'm not going to kick out those paying customers. They have the table first. And Mr. Krabs comes over and kicks the old people out and takes the $5 and lets the guy have his table. And SpongeBob says, Mr. Krabs, why did you do that? And Mr. Krabs says, because, my boy, money talks. This is different from the other examples of Mr. Krabs being greedy, because Mr. Krabs isn't just being greedy because he's taking the money. Perhaps that's his motivation for why he does it. Perhaps this is his motivation for why he says the statement that he says. But the reason that that scene is Mr. Krabs being ideologically capitalist is because he's justifying it by saying that that is the correct order of things. The fact that those old people got thrown out because that guy gave him $5, Mr. Krabs is saying that's right. That's the way that we should live. And the episode, by having Mr. Krabs be the person who gets punished throughout the narrative, the character who is clearly supposed to be in the wrong in that situation, the narrative is making the opposite statement. The writers of the show are making an anti-capitalist statement. They're saying it is wrong for someone to be able to buy their way into privilege, like taking a table from old people who got there first. Do we understand how that is the ideological statement of capitalism? This is exactly why you need to come to me for this kind of stuff and not SpongeTruths, because there's no way SpongeTruths is about to say anything like that.
Capitalism, in the most oversimplified terms possible, is an economic system.
Yeah, I'm sure you want the oversimplified terms.
Where private people own the businesses instead of the government. The owners or...
Holy misinformation. Oh my goodness. Holy misinformation. Where private people own the businesses instead of the government. I mean, like, it's a pretty unelegant way of saying it. I feel like this is actually a pro-capitalism statement to like say it like this. Like, it's not exactly like it's a pro-capitalist statement, but it's kind of a pro-capitalist framing. Like it's saying like, yes, like capitalism is when a person owns it. Socialism is when the government owns it. And it kind of creates this like extreme dichotomy where like, no, like under a more like socialist system, yes, I think that, like, if you ask me, like, what I think as a socialist, I would say that healthcare should not be a private business. Like, there should not be a private business that's healthcare. That should all be handled by, it should be an arm of the state. And the reason that that statement scares people is that the state is very inefficient. So in order for people to properly believe in that, to believe in the idea that healthcare should be owned by the state and not owned by private people, is for people to believe that the government can handle doing that, which is why I think a politician like Mamdani is so effective, because that is kind of the point of Mamdani, the idea of, on the New York City municipal level, the idea that, oh, these policies are actually able to benefit people, you know, getting rid of that myth of the whole, ooh, the scariest words in the English language are I'm from the government, I'm here to help, that whole thing. Because the problem is not the government, the problem is Republicans, you know, these conservatives and Democrats too. I'm sure they got their problems, you know, really capital interests actually is the bigger problem, you know, to even be a little more fair. It definitely is worse with Republicans though. Capital interests makes it so that people will think that the extreme of all things privately owned, nothing socially owned, is the ideal way, by eroding your belief that things can get done if things are socially owned. And because of that, we lose faith in our institutions, which is why we have this sort of thing. Now, when I talk about how things need to be progressed gradually, it doesn't mean that tomorrow we just make every healthcare company like absorbed by the government. That would not really work. It would be disastrous. You have to start it off smaller. You have to work up to the universal healthcare. You have to work up to healthcare being a public utility the same way that a library or police services are. And also in that way, like, and that's also the other problem, is that it's complete extremes. It's like, well, I don't entirely think that, like, you know, under a perfect system, like, would a video game company be owned by the government? Like, I don't know. I think that's kind of fine if video game companies are privately owned. Should your house be, you know, if you're a renter, or that's another one, like with housing, like there's a bit of nuance there. Like, okay, private ownership of a house, that can be a good thing if you're a person. If you're one person and you're owning your house, that can actually be a bit more convenient. You manage your own house, you manage your own property. You know, that does cut down on certain bureaucratic things, and it could perhaps be a more financially viable way of home ownership. I could hear arguments for different ways of looking at that, whether or not certain elements of private home ownership can be good, or if a idea of all socially owned home ownership is better. I could hear arguments for either side. I haven't finalized my position on it. However, the one thing that I will refute any argument on is the idea that private equity should own thousands of homes, millions of homes, and rent them to people. That is unacceptable to me. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Now, is that specifically in the way that SpongeTruths just brought it out? Like, that is socialist. Yes, I'm unapologetic about that. That to restrict private equity from being able to own homes in that way is yes, it is a socialist belief. And again, it would have to be implemented slowly, because if you just did that in a second, it might cause some problems. But like, if I think that there's a possibility that private individuals should maybe be able to own their homes, and there also should be a social option, a public option for renting a home, that's a bit more nuanced than what SpongeTruth just said of capitalism is when people own things and socialism is when the government owns things. You know, do we see how much more complicated it is when you actually think about it, and why you really shouldn't ever...
Capitalism, in the most oversimplified terms possible.
In the most oversimplified terms possible. You know what? I think? I think you should never explain things in the most oversimplified terms possible. You know how like my live streams, you know how like my stream segments are always like an hour and a half long? It's because I don't do this nonsense, you know? It's why my videos on the main channel are generally around like 30 minutes long, because usually in my main videos I talk about one specific subject, you know? But like in these streams, the reason that they're so long is because I actually explain stuff. And you know what? Stuff should be over-explained. Simplifying stuff does not help. We talked about this in my Animal Farm video. Or no, we didn't. No, I don't think I talked about it. No, I talked about it a little bit in my Animal Farm video. So in Animal Farm, there are 2 commandments in, well, there's 7 commandments in Animal Farm, but the first 2 are about the animals separating themselves from the humans, which in the book, it's a socialism book. So the animals represent the proletariat being the working class, and the humans represent the bourgeoisie, in that case, the owning class. When the animals separate from the humans, they have these 7 commandments, and the first 2 commandments, the first one is whoever walks on 2 legs is an enemy, and the second commandment is whoever walks on 4 legs or has wings is a friend. And a bunch of the animals in Animal Farm can't read very well. They're illiterate because they're animals. Although in the story of Animal Farm, the animals are capable of learning how to read. They're like kind of intelligent like humans are, but the animals in this particular story are illiterate. They could read, but they kind of can't at the time. And because these animals couldn't read, they put above the commandments, they just put the phrase 4 legs good, 2 legs better. They simplify it for the illiterate animals. And this causes one immediate problem, which is the new simplified phrase is now exclusionary to birds. The original commandment that was more specific said whatever walks on 4 legs or has wings is a friend. But when you remove that by simplifying it, it now leaves out birds. The representation being that when you simplify stuff, you're going to leave out something important. That is why there is no utility in having a simplified description of something. But that's kind of what people want to use AI to do, is simplify their stuff. This was a long time ago that I talked about this. But there was someone on r/AI Wars where they claimed that they read like 75 books because AI condensed the books for them. And that person is an idiot. They're an idiot because they think that they read 75 books, but they're also dumber because they think that they read the books because they read the simplified parts of it. You need to actually understand how to absorb things properly. There can be benefits in some ways of breaking down stuff simply in order to understand it more deeply, but that always has to be the goal in order to understand it more deeply.
The owners or certain shareholders will decide pretty much everything, such as what to sell, what to charge, and how much to pay their workers. And the Krusty Krab pretty much fits this definition. It's just Krabs who owns the place, sets the prices, and decides what a Krabby Patty costs. And
bro, that's not because it's talking about capitalism. It's because it's a cartoon. And it's simple. It's a kid. I'm sorry. Like, that's not it commenting on capitalism. Mr. Krabs is the owner of the Krusty Krab, and there's no like other like sub managers or anything. Like, the Krusty Krab is 3 employees. Mr. Krabs, or I guess 2 employees, and Mr. Krabs is the owner. Mr. Krabs owns the Krusty Krab, and he's the boss. And then Squidward's a cashier, and SpongeBob's a fry cook. Do you know the reason for this? It's because it's simple. It's because there's only so many characters on the show. And if you have another character who's the night shift person, or if you have another character who's the busboy, if you have another character who cleans the toilets, then it just gets muddy. How many characters are you going to have? So if Mr. Krabs had like a board of directors at the Krusty Krab and like they set the prices or whatever, and like we don't need this. This isn't and it not having that is not a comment on capitalism.
Health inequality, since most of the money ends up with the people at the top, and not a lot makes its way down.
Wow, that's more than I make in a year.
It's also not a...
Again, like taking that seriously, the whole line where he holds up a quarter and SpongeBob says it's more than I make in a year. Like, that's not a bad statement, sure. Like, I agree with that statement. Like, you know, like AI can say statements I agree with. If you tell it to talk about capitalism, I'm sure it will regurgitate 1 or 2 hollow statements that I'm going to agree with. Like, that is a problem with capitalism, sure, but like you're not really citing how SpongeBob comments on that. You're citing a throwaway line
top, and not a lot makes its way down.
Wow!
Like, you're citing a throwaway line where SpongeBob says, "Ooh, a quarter, that's more than I make in a year," just implying that Mr. Krabs is a cheap boss or whatever. Like, sure, but like, is there a scene like, again, use how I described the beginning of Money Talks as a baseline, because this show is capable of commenting on these systems in plenty of episodes. But saying a one-off joke is not proving your point. It's not talking about the actual system and how it does that. It's just saying Mr. Krabs is cheap. He's personally cheap. He's cheap and SpongeBob doesn't have a lot of money, so like that's what wealth inequality is. And sure, it's good if someone watches this and they go, yeah, wealth inequality is bad, and like maybe they kind of just take that with them and they, you know, like whatever. But it doesn't actually teach that person why wealth inequality is bad, why wealth inequality happens, the way that one would get taught that if they heard my description of the beginning of Money Talks.
It's also not a secret that Krabs would be more than willing to do pretty much anything if it means more money in his pocket. At the end of the day, if
that means personal greed. Personal greed is not a critique of capitalism. It's a critique of greed. It's a critique of the kind of person that you are. And yes, plenty of stories that have greedy characters do both. The most famous of which is A Christmas Carol. A Christmas Carol is about Ebenezer Scrooge. He's greedy, and through the being visited by the three spirits, he decides to not be greedy. But that is an interpersonal story for Scrooge. However, A Christmas Carol is a political story because Ebenezer Scrooge in the early scenes talks about how his apathy towards his own responsibility towards caring for others, towards caring to the poor, when he rejects the charity gentlemen who are asking for donations for Christmas. He says, not my problem. My taxes fund these things, and if the poor should be fine on their own, or something like that. This is a whole ideological problem with Scrooge, and that is what makes that story political. But him simply being greedy, Mr. Krabs selling SpongeBob's soul for 62 cents, it's not a critique of capitalism. It's not. It's an interpersonal story. It's about how he betrayed his friend for money. It doesn't comment on the actual systems that made Mr. Krabs that way. And that's fine that it doesn't. Like, that episode is not about that. Not every episode is about economic systems. Like, it's okay that that episode just focuses on being greedy interpersonally, because that affects our lives too. If we're greedy interpersonally, if we're the kind of person where we're going to, mess up our friendship because we, like, let's say you go out with somebody, you hang out with like a friend or something, and you like split the bill at a restaurant, and you like realize that like, oh wait, you paid like $1.41 more on your bill, and you like send them a Venmo request that's like $1.41. You could do that, and you're like pulling out your phone, you're about to do that, and you think, wait a minute, remember when Mr. Krabs sold SpongeBob's soul for 62 cents, and you decide to not do that, and now your relationship with your friend is better because you didn't do that obnoxious thing. It's an interpersonal story, and I think it's okay, and I think it's good to know the difference. And obviously, again, obligatory all art is political. Like, yes, seeing that Mr. Krabs sells SpongeBob for 62 cents, that can comment on how people are willing to sell out their friends or whatnot, like, of course it does. But like, saying it as evidence for like, this is an anti-capitalist show is not, you're just going in the wrong direction when there's better examples right in front of you.
Now, of course, every capitalist king has a rival, and Krabs...
Uh-oh.
Now, of course, we've seen that Plankton wants to steal the Krabby Patty recipe every now and then, indicating that he...
Yes, that's the only thing that Plankton cares about. He does not have any political beliefs. So the thing about, like, I guess it's kind of tricky because like evil people can have political beliefs, but the idea of like having political beliefs, like Plankton's a tricky one because he's so cartoonishly evil. Like, Plankton is just so self-centered that he only really cares about what's best for him. And I guess that is the case with plenty of people who align with political beliefs who are evil. Plankton wants to rule the world. Is that political? So like Plankton wants to rule the world, yes, but like when he does rule the world, like we see in the SpongeBob movie in this frame that is very weird right now. What is going on with this frame? Why are things distorted? Shouldn't they just have used the frame from the movie? Why is this frame AI'd and distorted? What's going on here? That's weird. Definitely a monarchist. Yeah, it's like, it's tricky because like Plankton just says he wants to rule the world. And that's kind of the point of the character, is that he's vapid about wanting to rule the world. Like he just wants to rule the world because he wants power over other people. And like one could say that that's the same as like, I know it's kind of a silly comparison, but like I do kind of believe that about like Trump. Like my belief about Trump is I don't think that he actually cares about anything. I think that he is just a person who enjoys hurting people. Like I think that if you look at Trump like that, like not like, oh, he's someone who like believes that like immigrants are hurting people, or he truly believes that that we should have tariffs, or that we like, or he just believes that the country would be better if this. He doesn't believe any of that. He likes hurting people. He gets off to it. And we know that because he was found criminally liable for rape. And that is why people commit that crime. The reason that people commit that crime is because they enjoy hurting people. They get off to it. And for my entire adult life, I have been seeing reports on this man and who he is. And if you look at everything that Trump does and everything that Trump is, the only consistent explanation is he enjoys hurting people. He gets off to it. And I think that in a lot of ways that is exactly Plankton. But I think the difference between Trump and Plankton, to draw the comparison, is that the way that Trump seized power is because he saw the dumbest people in this country, which were conservatives, and used their fervor to take power so that he could continue to hurt people. So that he could hurt people even more. Like you always ask, like, oh, he's like 80 years old. Like, why doesn't he just like chill and like play golf? Like he's a billionaire. Like he doesn't need to do this. And it's like, no, because he doesn't like playing golf. He likes hurting people. He gets off to it. And being an evil president is like the most effective way to harm people. Like when it's like, oh, like why is there like war in Iran where they like blow up 80 little girls? It's like because he gets off to it, that there is that they blew up a school and 80 Iranian school children died. He gets off to it. That's why it happens. Plankton is Trump, Jackson Fidelio. Hell yeah. So I think kind of the difference between Plankton and Trump is that Plankton doesn't need to have a political ideology to take over the world, because Plankton's method of taking over the world is to steal the Krabby Patty formula and use the hype around the Krabby Patty to then seize power. So Plankton doesn't actually believe anything, and neither does Trump. But the difference is that Trump used a political ideology to seize power. So in the same way that the Bikini Bottomites are obsessed with the Krabby Patty to the point where when Plankton started making them, they went to the chum bucket and he put the bucket helmets on them. American conservatives love hate as much as the Bikini Bottomites love the Krabby Patty. And Trump just used the secret formula being whipping up people's hatred, whipping up conservatives' hatred specifically to seize power, while Plankton did that just with the Krabby Patty. So in that way, they're the same. But the main difference in terms of this conversation is that Plankton doesn't really have a political ideology because he doesn't need one in order to seize power. I think that's what makes Plankton not exactly the same.
Taking over the Krusty Krab, or making his own utopia called Planktopolis. As far as ruling
his own utopia called Planktopolis. Is that a utopia to you, SpongeTruths?
I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that he also wants to control what people think, which technically puts him closer to totalitarianism.
It's just so dull. It's just so dull. Totalitarianism.
Either way, I don't think he's doing a good job turning his ideology into reality, since
his ideology. I don't think anyone is ideologically totalitarian. You know what I mean? Like I guess you would be ideologically totalitarian in terms of you think that you should be the totalitarian. It also frames Plankton as like he likes totalitarianism. Like you're totally missing the point of Plankton and really all villains, which is important for talking about politics. The human element to it, the fact that like someone who is a totalitarian, it's because someone wants power. They want to control others. And that is a character flaw on their part. Hypothetically, a perfect person could be a good totalitarian. That's called Christianity. No, it's not. I'm being funny. But that is kind of the idea of like believing in like a perfect God. That they're a totalitarian, but they're like super nice about it. Not that I don't have anything against Christianity in concept. I think that all the problematic things about Christianity are not inherent to it. Like, you know, like homophobia or like sexism and stuff. Like, I think that you can have Christianity without having those things. In fact, I think that you would be more consistent with the actual teachings of Christianity if you didn't have those things. But that is kind of the idea of like one thing that is more ideologically problematic about Christianity is the idea of kind of what you just said of like a perfect person would be a good totalitarian, like the idea that there is like a perfect God who makes like all the decisions and is always right and always does the good thing. I don't want to take people's beliefs away and like tell them that they like shouldn't believe and have like their own personal relationship with the deity that they feel strongly about. But I do think that it's important to acknowledge that when you believe that there is a all-powerful, perfect being that always makes the right choices, if you believe in that, you should make sure that you don't let go of the responsibility that we all have to make our own decisions and the responsibility that we all have to understand the world around us. Does that make sense? No, it's kind of made me think about that. Is there a SpongeTruths about religion? Let's see if there is one. Maybe just a general AI video about religion. Would that be fun? I'm thinking of expanding a little past SpongeTruths and these like no villains are safe. I feel like I'm running out. There's got to be AI religion videos. Maybe I should do it. I think I'd be good at it because I'd be like secular, but I'd be really accepting of religion to the point where I think religious people would like to hear me talk about it. I'll consider it.
Which brings us to the laziest example of shared property in all of Bikini Bottom, Patrick Star. Now at first...
Again, this is another example of taking a character who doesn't believe anything and saying that they have an ideology. So you have to actually... So like, most people have opinions on things. 1/3 of Americans didn't vote. That's pretty crazy. So like, and I do think that even of all those people who didn't vote, I think that they all do have opinions, but they just don't feel as sure enough about those opinions to have actually gone out and voted. I think that that's why so many people in this country did not vote. It's generally more so apathy, but they do believe stuff, rather than that 78 million people in this country just don't believe anything. I just don't, you know, I think that pretty much anyone you ask anyone anything, they're gonna have an opinion on something. But the more complicated an issue is, the less likely someone's gonna have an opinion on it. Like, all right, if you were to ask every American, what is your opinion on whether or not seatbelts should be legally enforced? You would get most people who would agree with that and a subset of people who would disagree with that and have certain reasonings as to why. But everyone would have an opinion on that. Everyone would say yes or no. I think that you would get very few people who would say, I don't know. And even those who say, I don't know, they would say, I don't know, because they would be formulating an opinion based on certain principles. But if you get a little deeper into it, if you say, do you think that corporations should pay a 2% increase on their taxes each year? You're gonna get fewer concrete answers. Not because that's not an important political issue, but because that political issue is so complicated and off the top of your head, you don't even know, is 2% a lot? Is that like, what is that? You'd have to know so much to know what your answer would be on that, that off the top of your head, most Americans would be like, I don't even have the info to be able to answer that question. Does that mean that those people are apolitical? No. Does it mean that they're a little misinformed? Maybe. Even that particular question is very hard. But also, we don't value people thinking about that sort of stuff in our society, so that's also another problem. 2% is way too little. I'm sure it is. That was just a number off the top of my head. I don't know what the... yeah, corporations should pay 5% more at least. See, there's exactly the point. Even me, I'm like, I don't know the exact number. I don't know the exact numbers. I knew him a little while ago when Mamdani got elected. I knew some of his numbers in case I, like, ever had to pull them out and talking to somebody, you know, in case I ever had to, like, be like, haha, but I forgot them. Wasn't it like 2% increase in corporate tax or something? And it's like consistent with New Jersey. I don't remember. It was something like that. That's kind of generally like the idea of kind of where I'm going with Patrick, this idea of someone who isn't so much that they're apolitical, like willingly, they're just apolitical because it's just a gap in their knowledge. And Patrick is, first of all, a cartoon character, and Patrick's episodes wouldn't really make a lot of sense to have Patrick align with a specific ideology. In real life, perhaps someone like him would. He is cartoonishly dumb, you know, in a certain way, but there is just no evidence in the show of Patrick having a political ideology, and there doesn't really have to be because it's not the point of the character.
First, I thought Patrick's political ideology was communism, right?
No, not right, actually. Wait, this is actually a little more right-wing than I thought. You know what? It's I was giving it so much the benefit of the doubt, like saying it was going to be left-leaning, because the thumbnail looks left-leaning, okay? But saying Patrick is communism, I'm sorry, that's a right-wing statement. Like, come on. Looking at the character who's like the lazy guy who doesn't have a job, who like just, he always eats all the Krabby Patties and all that sort of stuff. And you're like, at first glance, I would think he'd be communism. Why? Are you an idiot? Yeah, communism is when no working. Dude, like, I hate this stereotype, because the reason that I'm a socialist is because I care about people having jobs, and I care about them being treated well at their jobs. No one cares more about working than socialists. All right. You think the average like conservative politician gives a rat's ass about people having jobs? They don't care if people are Patrick. They don't care. At least insofar as it benefits them. But like the amount of greed and people being treated like garbage at their jobs, that's why people don't want to work at all. Like, that's why people are like, yeah, of course people are going to try to find workarounds to having a real job when having a real job sucks because we don't have socialism. Maybe if you actually listened to what people who are communists say, you would probably have fewer people who are like Patrick, because then working conditions would be better and people would want to have jobs. SpongeTruth bringing the Red Scare to Bikini Bottom. Literally Red Scare. Literally, like, we have not progressed since the 1950s.
Communism, in the simplest possible terms, is an economic system where there's no private ownership, which means
it's when workers own the means of production. That's what communism is. Owning the workers. That's what they always get wrong. The government would own the means of production, or would own everything. It's the workers own the means of production. There is an element of government interference or government. And again, I wouldn't even say that I'm like a communist. Like, I don't think communism can be achieved. Like, communism's also, there's the idea of the classless, stateless society. That's not happening anytime soon. Maybe in like 500 years, you know, like maybe the stuff that I advocate for, or 200 years, you know, maybe like less than that, you know, like the stuff that I advocate for could one day lead to a like classless, stateless society. Not going to happen anytime soon. I'm not going to worry my pretty little head about having a stateless, classless society. I care more about defeating right-wing and conservative thought and people getting universal health care and maybe decommodifying housing. Those are like the things that maybe... Oh, and of course, banning generative AI. Those are like the main political projects that could be achieved within my lifetime, that I genuinely hope are achieved within my lifetime, and that I want to dedicate at least a part of my life as a public figure to working towards. Even the source that it put up says it more correctly than what he says. Today, the existing communist states in the world are China, Cuba, Laos, and Vietnam. Okay, that's just... China is capitalist, guys. China's not communist. It literally says right before... There's such a wrong source. It literally says right on top of it, communism advocates for a classless system in which the means of production are owned communally. And private property is non-existent or severely curtailed. I mean, but like owned... you contradict yourself. Is owned communally. Private property... Well, it's still owned... I guess it's owned communally. But it's just when you're simplifying these things too much, you know?
Which also means nobody really owns their stuff because the whole point is sharing just about everything.
Again, just being like the absolute extreme. Like, of course, there's never going to be a time where everyone literally shares everything. Like, it's just nonsensical. Like, why even bring that up? Like, why even be like, yeah, eventually there's going to be like a time where like no one owns anything. Like, Of course that's never going to happen. Like, what do you know, like the point and you're just bringing it to this extreme when you don't talk about the actual things that would make this work. You're not bringing up the stuff that actually sounds good, like decommodifying housing and not having all of the houses be owned by 5 companies that buy up all the private equity and raise people's rent. That's actually it's more so socialism than communism. Communism isn't even really like... Communism isn't even really like a term that's seriously thrown around anymore. Like it kind of isn't, like, you know, so like even the term is generally socialism and more broadly democratic socialism. But when you frame it as communism or this or nonsense like that, you're muddying it. Funnily enough, capitalists want people to not own stuff. True. You're so right. Yeah. I'm against like not owning your like media. Like how we have like subscription services for like Netflix and stuff. I think physical media was better. DVDs was a better system than Netflix, where you don't actually own the movies. Does that make me some kind of capitalist? You know, I don't know. You know, I think that private ownership is actually good for something like a DVD of a movie. Within reason. I mean, libraries are cool. Libraries are nice. Blockbuster Video was an all right, you know, concept of a kind of company, you know, but Netflix and HBO Max, all this this streaming era is a disaster. It's a complete disaster, you know? So it's just nonsensical. Just this idea of like saying like, yeah, like no one, and Patrick believes that ideologically. Show me one episode where Patrick ideologically believes that like everyone should own everything. Oh, are you going to talk about that one episode where he fights over with SpongeBob with the little like burger toy? And at the end, he's like, haven't you learned anything about sharing? I get the toy because it's my, like, no, that's being like a greedy child who wants to have a toy. That's not communism, and it's actually kind of bastardizing what like actual people who study Marx truly believe.
For one, he loves to raid SpongeBob's fridge just whenever he wants, and even
yes, communism is when you eat food out of your friend's fridge. Yes. Bro, SpongeTruths is so right wing. What?
He also loves to borrow pretty much everything from SpongeBob's house, like his washing machine or even his pants, without asking. Arguably,
that's just being a bad friend. That's not a political ideology. Patrick doesn't take SpongeBob's stuff because he thinks that he's ideologically owed it. He takes SpongeBob's stuff because SpongeBob is his friend and a pushover, and Patrick can just kind of take his stuff, and like that's fine. Also, Patrick doesn't do that often. Like even the one shot he used, I don't know what episode this is, where he's drinking like water out of the fridge. I'm sure the context of that, like, what's this? This is not Patrick stealing SpongeBob's pants. Patrick was just being funny. He was just wearing SpongeBob's pants. He was trying to cheer him up in this scene because he failed his driving test. Bro, I didn't know the classmates who once stole my school stuff in 5th grade were communists. Yeah, exactly. Like, you're just saying something where someone interpersonally just like takes something and like you're saying like it's like, I think actually the point of communism is to distribute things equally amongst people who deserve it. you know, like, or need it. Even not even so much deserve. Deserve is kind of a silly term, like need it. You know, what is it? What's the phrase? Something like to the best of their needs, to the best of their abilities or whatever. Like that's kind of the philosophy of it. Like that has nothing to do with going into your friend's house and like eating their food out of their fridge without asking them. Like it's nonsense.
Sounds like a true commie to me, which
yeah, sounds like a true McCarthy to me. Like what?
the actual ideology kind of expects everyone to contribute to the collective. Like, you have to produce something to share to be a part of society.
Oh, SpongeTruths. Hold on, SpongeTruths. Okay.
Meanwhile, Patrick does not produce anything. Patrick has been
Is that nuance? Is that understanding? What is this image? What is this image? What is going on? How does this happen? Probably an in-between frame. Oh yeah, maybe.
So if Patrick were dropped into an actual communist state, he'd probably...
How do you not feel stupid as the editor making this? Like, I really hope that when the editor made this, they went and they like put their head up against the wall real slow, like, and were like, what am I doing with my life? I can't imagine not doing that after this frame.
only get arrested for being a freeloader within the first week, which ironically makes him both the most communist character in Bikini Bottom and the worst possible communist at the same time, which is why...
Okay. I mean, I guess I can kind of like drop the like SpongeTruths is trying to like specifically push a like right-wing agenda. I think this is just AI saying things for the sake of saying. Whoever's behind SpongeTruth. So here's actually the difference that I just realized between this SpongeTruths video and the homophobia SpongeTruths video. So when I talk about like these like AI political videos, obviously a big part of it is that we're just seeing what AI outputs as a video. You know, and like seeing the problem with that, like right with this is like when you ask AI, write me a video about communism, it's going to say shallow stuff like communism is when your friend takes your food out of the fridge. And it's going to say shallow stuff like, oh, in communism, like you're expected to work, which is like a better thing to say, sure, but still very shallow. And SpongeTruths, the person behind SpongeTruths, has to choose to put that in the video. And the person behind SpongeTruths, whoever they are not smart enough to understand these political things at all. But with the other video, and why I maintain that SpongeTruths is willingly homophobic, whoever is behind the channel is homophobic, like they believe in homophobia, they have something against gay people, and it's evidenced in that video, is that they chose to put in that opinion in that video and chose to have it say like that it would be an agenda if they did it and all that sort of stuff. And you don't have to be very smart to have that opinion. In fact, only people who aren't smart have that opinion, actually. Whereas to actually understand communism, even from an anti-communist perspective, you have to be a little bit more intelligent than whatever's behind SpongeTruth. So it's just saying things for the sake of saying things. So that's kind of why you get it like that.
I think Patrick is closer to what we call egoism. It's the idea that everything a person does is ultimately for themselves, even the nice things or generous things.
That's more of a philosophy. That's not politics. That's not a political term. That's a philosophical term. It'd probably be a little bit of a contradiction, but maybe not. Maybe it's everyone does stuff for themselves, so in order to have the best for everyone, you have to make people do things for others or something. I don't know. But
egoist will and always does what feels right to them while ignoring...
Wouldn't that also be Plankton? Like that was what I was saying about Plankton? Where like why not say that about Plankton too? Where Plankton just wants to do... Like why are you saying that Plankton is ideologically totalitarian? When Patrick, you say, is not ideologically communist, but he's an egoist or whatever, which is not a political ideology; it's a personal ideology. most politicians are egoists regardless of political ideology. Yeah, like I could probably, I mean, I wouldn't say like egoist. Like I don't think there's really any point in saying, oh yeah, like Trump is an egoist because everything he does is because he gets off to hurting people. Like I just say he gets off to hurting people. Like, you know, I got the point across earlier without saying egoist, you know? I guess if you're specifically, but like that word really only matters if you're specifically talking about philosophical ideologies, which this video is not about. It's about political ideologies. Like would the AI just went and mixed up I guess it would.
Maybe communism on Monday and egoism on Tuesday, or whatever he's feeling that.
What? Just saying words. No, if he is the thing, again, you could be both of those things.
We go to a guy who'd rather live as far away from everyone else as...
It's going to be Squid on strike, right? Like, it was in the thumbnail.
Possible Squidward tentacles. Now, I'm really feeling conservatism for Squidward, just for the fact...
Okay, I guess I was wrong. I guess you're not going to acknowledge Squid on strike. Because Squidward is actually... Of all of the characters in this show, you could maybe make an argument that Mr. Krabs is capitalist ideologically. I guess I could see that, like maybe Mr. Krabs too. Squidward is, because of Squid on strike, he is canonically a socialist. That's not, people don't talk like that if they're not a socialist. Squidward, and maybe he did it because of his own, like, you know, against Mr. Krabs or whatever.
Hates noise. He hates his neighbors. What's more, he values certain orders in life, especially...
That's not ideology, though. Hating noise doesn't make you a conservative. Yes, there can be a correlation with if you're a conservative, like maybe you don't like, you know, like loud music or whatever. Like if you have an ornery neighbor who like will like knock on your wall of your apartment because your music's slightly too loud. Yeah, that person's maybe more likely to be conservative. And there are reasons for that, but that's not like a part of the ideology. You're talking about conservatism, the ideology, the idea of conserving the specific power structures. Or if you get more deeper into like American conservatism, like the more ethno-nationalist way of thinking, not wanting there to be immigrants or restricting immigration heavily, kind of even aligns itself with capitalism, like wanting corporations to be more of the ownership rather than, you know, like government ownership of like the things like healthcare and housing and all that. Like these are things that are more like ideologically conservative or even socially conservative, having certain ideas about gender roles and you know, who could marry who and all that sort of stuff. Like these are other conservative things. Does Squidward have any of those things? No, he just doesn't like loud noises. He just doesn't like SpongeBob because he's loud. So like he's totally like a conservative. What?
On art and maybe the quiet enjoyment of his own hobbies. As for conservatism, it's...
Yeah, the quiet enjoyment of his own hobbies. Yeah, typical conservatives, like just the quiet enjoyment of their own hobbies. Like, you mean everyone likes to quietly enjoy their own hobbies? Like, what?
Self, in its simplest form, is the belief that society works best when things stay the way they are. In other words, tradition.
No, it's not. Conservative, that doesn't make any sense. Like, yes, that's where the word comes from, like conservative, like to conserve, like, because in general, a conservative is like, we want to have things like be sort of like the same, you know, it does like, there's a lack of progress, like there's a little bit of like, but like saying that is what conservatism is ignores what it actually is. Like that wouldn't be the case where it's always having things stay what they are, because then you wouldn't want to change stuff like at all. Like none of them would have been like, if you were a conservative, you wouldn't ever vote for anyone, or you would always vote for the person who's exactly the same as the person before.
Arguably, his whole arc with SpongeBob is essentially a conservative experience in itself. Loud, chaotic outsider who keeps disrupting his routine, and Squidward keeps demanding it stop. But then, you remember episodes like...
I'm sorry? Did he just say his arc?
Arc with SpongeBob.
His arc with SpongeBob is SpongeBob disrupts his routine and he demands him to stop. That's not an arc. That's not what an arc is. That's just things that happen in certain episodes. An arc is when a character changes their perspective. his perspective was already that he wanted to be left alone.
You remember episodes like Squid?
Gotta have the wobbling. Gotta have that stupid wobbling effect. God, I hate content farms so much.
In the episode, Squidward moves to a gated community called Tentacle Acres.
I mean, I guess it's acknowledging that conservatives are racist. Can I give it that? That Squidward moves to an ethno state? But Squidward doesn't move to Squidville because of ideology. Like, there is an element of, like, Squidville with, like, the racism. Like, it's very below the surface of the episode. I talked about it in another stream where... did SpongeTruths, their most racist SpongeBob episodes video, that talked about Squidville, right? Something like that? Yeah. It's not really what Squidville's about. Again, Squidville is a very personal story. It's really just about Squidward getting away from SpongeBob and Patrick and learning that his life is not that good without them, that he needs some of the more whimsy in life, and if everyone around him was like him, he wouldn't like that. Which, yeah, that can be an anti-racist and anti, don't always be around only people like you kind of message, like, for sure. But, it's a bit of a stretch to say that Squidward was ideologically motivated. Perhaps that motivated his ideology that he wanted to get away from SpongeBob and Patrick. So he thought, oh, I'm a squid, I should be around other squids. And then you have, I'm sorry, he's not a squid, he's an octopus. The episode is called Squidville, so it confused me, but he is an octopus. So, here I am, I'm being racist.
Since they don't allow other species in. That's not really conservatism, is it? If anything, it sounds more similar to communism. That's why I think...
What? There's, like, conservatives, like, right now trying to make, like, an all-white, like, town. And they're fighting legal battles so they can have, like, an all-white compound. This has been reported on. Like, these, like, conservatives literally want, like, ethno states. Not all conservatives. Like, I'll even be benefit of the doubt. That definitely is not. Like, I think most conservatives are homophobic, if not all, in some way. At least, like, if you look at where their end goal of stuff. I don't think all conservatives want an ethno state. An alarming amount do, to the point where if you're a conservative who does not want an ethno state, you should look at the ones who do and consider your ideology. But to then just be like, that's like, that is so false. That's crazy that he didn't bring up Squid on Strike when it was in the thumbnail.
And if Sandy has to run any kind of political agenda in Bikini Bottom, it would be a technocracy. To put it really simply...
What a boring answer. I'm like almost disappointed. Sandy is from Texas. Are you implying she'd be conservative? Because Texas is surprisingly blue, especially in the cities. More than you think. Texas probably wouldn't be specifically a blue state, but if there wasn't as much voter disenfranchisement and gerrymandering and all that, it'd be way more blue than you think. Yeah, Sandy would so be like someone who's from Texas, but is political. I mean, she's a scientist. Like, we're going to Texas in search of religious tolerance.
To put it really simply, technocracy is a system where the people in charge are the ones with technical or scientific expertise.
So, like, this is so silly to say that it's Sandy. Like, you're just saying that Sandy would hold this political ideology because she is a scientist herself. Like, in order to say that a character holds a certain political ideology, you have to cite an episode where they show that they hold the belief, like, because that's what a political ideology is. It's the belief that the world should be run a certain way. It's not about how you personally are. It's like what I said about Mr. Krabs, how you can't just say, oh, he's greedy, so he's a capitalist. Like, no, you have to actually find the episode where he ideologically defends capitalism, which I did with the Money Talks example. Or Squidward. I said that Squidward was a socialist. You look at the episode Squid on Strike and the things that Squidward says, only a socialist would act that way. With Sandy, show me the episode where she says that she thinks that the system of governance of her world should have technical experts such as scientists, engineers, and economists rather than elected politicians. Show me the episode.
I don't think Sandy actually wants to rule anyone. She just wants...
Then why did you say that she was that?
Better answer for Sandy is rugged individualism, a belief that a person should rely on their own...
Rugged individual. So they're just saying, again, this is the problem with taking these cartoon characters and like saying they have political ideologies. You just did this with Patrick. We had a similar problem with Plankton. He just didn't acknowledge it. Yes, they're cartoon characters. they don't really have many opportunities for them to specifically have political ideologies. Most of the episodes of the show don't deal with like political systems. And like sometimes they do, and sometimes there are episodes where the interpersonal story can connect with politics. Also, another problem with this video too is that it's trying to represent every SpongeBob character as like a different political ideology. Whereas that's not really how people work. Most people, like, first of all, there's really only two sides, you know, if you look at like American politics, like there's just like Democrat and Republican. But then like from there, it's like, okay, like someone could maybe be like a leftist, or they could be like a this or that or something. And it's like, yeah, like let's just say, oh, Mr. Krabs is like run-of-the-mill like Republican or something, you know, he's just like fiscally conservative and like, you know, he wants his tax break, so that's why he votes the way he does. Or Patrick doesn't really believe much, but he like goes and like, I don't know, votes for Democrats because I guess SpongeBob and Sandy also do. You know, you see how like this just is dull? It's just a dull conversation. Who cares? You know, like it's not important to the story. And it certainly isn't teaching anyone anything about how politics works.
It's deeply tied to American frontier mythology, which is a fancy way of saying it's deeply tied to Texas.
Oh my God, saying that because she's from Texas, she's this like laissez-faire, everyone is an island thing. Like what I just said about it, again, like not understanding that Texas really, not everyone from Texas is a conservative. And certainly someone from Texas who would become a scientist and leave Texas, generally those people aren't conservative. Generally, that's why they leave Texas, because they're not conservative and they don't like being there around all the other conservatives.
And that leaves us with the smallest, slimiest, and possibly smartest character left on the list, Gary the Snail.
SpongeTruth. First of all, he skipped SpongeBob. Does he have a section about SpongeBob? Gary's an animal, dude. Animals don't have political beliefs because they're animals. They don't comprehend them.
I don't know about you, but there's something telling me Gary is an anarchist.
I'm skipping. I'm sorry. Like, no, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I'm not sitting here and debunking why Gary is not an anarchist. I'm sorry. Like, even I have limits. I'm done. Done.
They might follow
what's SpongeBob?
Their own rules most of the time, and so that's 6 characters, 6 ideologies, and a surprising amount of political theory that I'm, oversimplifying. So tell me, how
you think? Then don't cover it. Then, if you're gonna oversimplify it, don't cover it. Then you're making it worse. But I mean, AI can't cover it properly. So wait, there's no SpongeBob.
Anyone's meant it hearing?
No SpongeBob? All right. Well, let's just get right into it. Let's just get right into government through SpongeBob characters. Let's see Scribble's take on it. Sure, I don't care.
Got a history pop quiz coming up? Well, sit down.
So this is basically the same video, but from No Villains Are Safe. Or Scribble, but Scribble is No Villains Are Safe. They're the same.
Today, I'm taking you guys on a government crash course. And to make this way more fun than a boring high school lecture,
Look, they do the stupid swinging here, too.
Today, I'm taking you guys
Look at
on
that.
a government crash course. And to make this way more fun than a boring high school lecture, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know using...
Well, look, they spoiled it. Wait, they're all this. Oh, SpongeTruth so stole from them. SpongeTruth so stole from them. They're all the same, right? Yeah, capitalism, dictatorship instead of totalitarianism, conservatism, technocracy, anarchy. They're also pulling the Gary anarchy. So SpongeTruth just stole this video. All right, let's watch the original.
SpongeBob. First up, capitalism. And dang, I wonder who the hell could represent that.
Look, Squidward, money! Mr. Krabs, I can't believe it.
This seed is not about capitalism. It's about just him being interpersonally greedy.
What even is capitalism anyway? First and foremost,
I'd love to know. No Villains Are Safe. What is capitalism, huh?
it's a type of economic system where the citizens own and run the companies, not the state.
Same thing SpongeTruth said.
It's a system that promotes entrepreneurship, and so the Krusty Krab was born.
The finest eating.
Bro, I can't believe that, like, you know what's sad? Like, you know, like I'm ripping on that as like a really shallow description, but that's what most people think it is. That's why we're in this mess. Like, because that's what most people think that it is.
Establishment ever established for eating. The Krusty Krab.
That clip was so necessary.
Capitalist society, the owners decide which goods and services they want to provide. They set their own prices as well. Most Western countries are capitalist countries, and undersea societies like Bikini Bottom are no exception.
Most Western countries are all countries are capitalist countries. Every country on earth is a capitalist country currently. Any country that's not a capitalist country is just too underdeveloped to be one. It is the dominant economic system across the entire earth. Most Western countries is a severe understatement.
Explain the problems with capitalism, starting with all the wealth disparity it causes. In a capitalist society,
Dude, it's the same video. It's like the same, like the examples are slightly different, but it's like the same script. That's so crazy. I gotta ask Gemini. It comes up on the side. That's how that works. Wait, do I just go to the regular? I was using the AI earlier. ChatGPT. Do you just use ChatGPT on the... I've never used ChatGPT before. Images. New chat. Does it just let you do it? I don't want to like make an account. What's on the agenda today? Ooh, agenda. YouTube video about SpongeBob characters and their political ideologies. No, I don't want to sign up. I don't want to sign up for ChatGPT. I feel dirty. I don't want it to have my data. I should, right? Is there a difference between like it and Google Gemini? Because I was able to use Google Gemini yesterday. Don't do it. No. Jackson, put the AI down. It's for research. We have to know. We have to know it. I'm not going to use it to make my videos. I feel dirty. The differences are minuscule. Okay, I'll just use the Google Gemini. I just don't want it to like have my data. And I don't want to get emails that's like ChatGPT, like try to create it. It just would drive me nuts. All right, Google Gemini. This just lets me do whatever. Okay. YouTube video script, the political ideologies of Bikini Bottom, title ideas. Oh, AI does write the titles for SpongeTruths. Huh. Or it could. Title ideas, the secret political spectrum of SpongeBob SquarePants, Bikini Bottom political compass explained. The secret, you've completely missed SpongeBob's political genius. That sounds a lot, that's very similar. Why Squidward is a Marxist and other SpongeBob ideologies. Video length, approximately 8 to 10 minutes. It gives you images too? What is this? Visual, fast-paced, high-quality montage of Bikini Bottom. Zoom into the dynamic between the Krusty Krab and the Chum Bucket. Audio, upbeat standard SpongeBob sea shanty music. Narrator. On the surface, SpongeBob SquarePants is a show about a hyperactive sea sponge who fries burgers, lives in a pineapple, and annoys his neighbors. It's childhood comfort food. But if you look just a few fathoms deeper, Bikini Bottom isn't just an ecosystem. It's a highly volatile socioeconomic microcosm. Think about it. Creator Steven Hillenburg was a marine biologist. Again, it brings up Steven Hill unprompted. I didn't say anything about Steven Hillenburg. It always has to go with that emotional thing. A field deeply attuned to how environments shape behavior. By extension, the characters he built represent distinct competing responses to modern capitalism, governance, and social structure. Today, we're putting Bikini Bottom on the political compass. Who is the true proletariat? Who is the unchecked corporate oligarch? Let's break it down. Mr. Krabs' unchecked anarcho-capitalism. Visual cut to Mr. Krabs sniffing cash, bathing in coins, and charging SpongeBob for breathing restaurant's air. If you looked up unfettered capitalism in an underwater dictionary, you'd just see a picture of his giant red claws. Like, it's the same jokes. It's the same jokes. Like, even if you're not AI, no villains are safe. Your quality is exactly the same as what AI is giving me. And isn't that bad enough? Like, isn't that enough to not watch them? That, like, you literally type a script into AI and you're getting the same thing. Like, none of my videos AI could even come close to writing. We have to start with the man who steers the economic ship to the... Okay, Mr. Krabs doesn't just participate in the free market, he exploits it in almost tyrannical degree. In the episode Squid on Strike, we find out he charges employees $100 per hour just to stand at the cash register. Wait, that's not in that episode. That got that wrong. Get stuff wrong pretty egregiously. They must be checking then, even SpongeTruths. They must be checking for errors. Because I feel like we'd see more errors, because when I use the AI, it does a lot of errors. He literally monetizes their labor to a negative degree. He views regulations as mere suggestions, safety code, blah, 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 blah. Squidward Tentacle, the delusion Marxist democratic socialist. Okay, so this AI said that Squidward was a socialist. It didn't say that he was a conservative. Sandy, Plankton, and Patrick, the outliers. The rest of Bikini Bottom rounds out the political spectrum beautifully. Sandy Treeks is a technocratic libertarian. Plankton represents totalitarian state capitalism. Patrick is an anarcho-primitivist. He owns no property except a rock. So lame. End conclusion. The genius of Hillenberg. Always with that, man. I hate AI so much. Whether intentionally or not, the writers of SpongeBob created a perfect sandbox for exploring economic... Okay. Gary the Snail monarchism from the episode Rule of Dumb is showing Gary wearing a royal crown. All right, so we're kind of seeing the point here where we're getting, like, the same stuff from, like, asking AI, write me a script, and it's not anything more than this. What would even be the point of why not use AI to do it? So SpongeBob is liberalism. Okay.
Probably the most memorable is in the episode Jellyfish Hunter. I tried to sound like the French narrator guy, but in this episode...
He's so insufferable.
Against his back, you got the
it's just so dull.
Like, so
let's see what he says about Patrick being a
to embody
communist.
this next type of government, and that's exactly what a communist system is. Everything is owned by the whole community. So how does
Same thing as SpongeTruth said. SpongeTruth at the very least stole this video.
Patrick fall into any of that? A big part of his character is that he's a massive freeloader. Like, how many times has he raided SpongeBob's fridge without permission?
Same example, man. Wow. It's more shameless how SpongeTruths ripped off this video than how SpongeTruths ripped off any of my videos, except maybe Bizarro Bottom.
Oh, good.
All right, I really don't care anymore about. I'm done. We got enough of this. Enough with SpongeTruths. SpongeTruths and the AI channels. Yeah. So I think what I want to end off on with this is that I believe very strongly in the principle that everyone deserves the right to vote. That's something that I believe very strongly. And it's a difficult belief to continue defending in the wakes of how much people have used that right to vote incorrectly recently. And the messes that we see right now might make us a little cynical of that idea of everyone having the right to vote. I still do believe in it, in the right to vote, as I don't think that taking away that right would lead to fixing these issues. Even if you took it away from the people that, aren't really using it correctly. And I do say vote correctly. That is a phrase that I thought a lot about, saying vote correctly. I used that term in, I believe, my Animal Farm video where I said vote correctly. And I do think it's a good phrase to say, vote correctly. And I think that you should say it as well, because when you vote for someone, when you participate in democracy and you cast your vote, one of the options that you are voting for does objectively provide the most social good. Like, that's just a fact. There are options that you can choose to vote for, and if that person wins, more people's lives are better, and if they don't, more people's lives are worse. That is a fact. It might be like lesser of two evils voting. It might be like, well, no matter who wins, we're still not getting healthcare, and like that sucks, sure. But there is an objectively correct answer to who you're voting for. It's not like a sports team, or if you want chicken or fish on an airplane. That's not what it is. There is a correct way to vote. You just have to choose it yourself. You just can't be made to do it. You just have to choose it. You know what I mean? But to act like it's like valid, and I think that people who vote incorrectly should be shamed for it, as a social deterrent for them to vote correctly, because I think that there should be social deterrences of who should vote correctly, not legal deterrences of voting. That makes sense. So what I think about the right to vote, and I think about this with a lot of different rights. I think about this with freedom of speech as well. These rights are things that people should have, that everyone should have. But I also think that if you have these rights, you should understand that these rights are a responsibility. So we all have the right to vote. But I also think that we have the responsibility to use that right to make the world better. We as a collective, we as the human race, have progressed to a point where a majority of our world is people have the right to vote. And that's wonderful. But the problem is that we don't really take that responsibility to heart. And I think that's very shameful, that if you're going to go and vote and be misinformed. And I think that while, if your extent of political knowledge is the idea of what is said in this SpongeTruths video, which, let's be real, that's what AI does. AI gives you the average, the baseline, the lowest common denominator, or maybe even more so, not even lowest common denominator, the median of something. So this video, as much as I rip on it and say it's AI, say it's this, is just the median of what people think, of what people view, that they think, oh yeah, capitalism is when you have private ownership and communism is when no one owns anything. Like, this is actual. And I think that if you're that misinformed, I think that you should make the choice to just not vote. I think that you should choose to not vote, not that someone should make you not vote or give you a test before you go or whatever, because that's not, you shouldn't do that. Everyone should have the right to vote, but you should have the responsibility to vote correctly. And there is a correct answer. And that answer is generally whatever is not the conservative answer, but it's not always a hard and fast rule. And I think that when you have stuff like this, and now look, this video it looks like it's kind of tanking. SpongeTruths themselves are tanking. How well did their Scribble one do? Scribble's kind of their smaller channel. Scribble's a bit of the smaller channel. What do they usually get? Oh no, they'll get 100. They get almost 600K views there. 230,000. What are the laws in Bikini Bottom? You know what? This video kind of tanked for them, to be honest. It's 30K views. 30K views is a lot, obviously, but to be honest, not a lot of people are really watching a lot of this political videos on these channels. I don't know why they're trying them out. I would say that these videos are a reflection of the shallowness of how we view politics, of how much we do. Like in Animal Farm, we don't actually look at the actual arguments or look at the real descriptions of what things are or the nuances of them, but we just have the simplified versions. And I think that's why people are drawn to government through SpongeBob characters, why that is a video that this channel even felt was viable, even if it wasn't really one of their more successful ones. And, there's a lot of other problems I get into, but I'm getting a little tired. I mean, I am a communist, so we're just like, we're just like tired and lazy all the time. So, you know, I'm just going to be like done with that. I don't consider myself communist, actually. Socialist, yes, but, you know. Anyway, that's really all I got to say about that. I'm a little exhausted about political stuff. Probably I'm going to do a little political detox after this, unless there's any sort of really egregious video from any of these channels. But for now, it's been fun chatting about it, and I'll be back soon with more just kind of standard AI stuff, anti-AI stuff. I guess anti-AI is political, but you get what I mean.